Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick.
This is Justin.
How you going, mate?
I'm doing well. It's a bit hot out here.
It's very hot out here. By the way, if we pick up any sort of wind in my microphone, it's because that window is open because I am not leaving it closed today. It's really hot, and if you guys know anything about Australian summer, it's wrong. It's just wrong. It shouldn't happen.
No.
But we persevere. Welcome back to the Hangar Bay, the weekly show where we talk about your submitted X-Wing squads, and we're back to the First Order.
My beloved order.
Yes, your beloved First Order. So we're going through the factions one by one every week, in case you guys weren't aware. I get a lot of requests to do certain ships, and I just want to remind you guys, hey, I know you want to see other Rebel ships after I just did a Rebel video, but you got to wait another, 5 weeks. Or 7 weeks.
7 weeks when it gets to... Yeah.
When they first announced the 6th and 7th faction, I said to myself and all the other content creators, we are never not going to have something to talk about.
Yeah,
it's really, really cool. So I put it to the patrons, as I do every single week. What should we review this week in terms of list archetypes? What ship should we focus our archetypes on? And it was very, very close.
Really close.
A month ago, we did the Silencer. So I said, okay, SF, FO, or Upsilon class shuttle, what's it going to be? The TIE SF just won, but in second place was the Upsilon and FO with one less vote.
Yeah.
So very, very close. As such, I'm going to make a point of speaking about those ships just a little bit in this video as well, because obviously you guys want to hear about them, and it's going to be another 5 weeks before we get back to those again, so that's fair enough. The Upsilon class shuttle is a big, chunky, stats-based beast, which has 3 crew, which is really, really cool, because they don't have that on the Empire anymore, because... there's a big pool of crew on the Empire, and now FFG can design a ship that has 3 crew and design it within a faction with a very small amount of crew, so you can do kind of crazy combos with that. But it doesn't do degenerative things on the Empire, which is really, really good. The FO is like a swarm-based ship that is a bit more expensive than the TIE Fighter, but is a bit awkward because it's a bit expensive. Yeah.
It has the shield, and that helps.
That helps. We've been playing around a lot with Null, getting a lot of lists submitted with Midnight, those 2 pilots, but it's a little bit hard to place. I think that it's just more like what good pilots are on the platform and what can we build around with that. But in terms of building swarms, it's a bit awkward at the moment.
Yeah, if you're doing swarms, it's normally like a 2 or 3 list swarm.
Yeah, but this video we're going to talk about the SF, which was a powerhouse of the meta in first edition with Quick Draw, the old PS9. Now Quick Draw is still Initiative 6, so we still have that relevant factor as well.
It used to also have lightweight frame basically stapled onto it.
Yeah, lightweight frame came out in the TIE Striker pack, and it's now no longer available. TIEs with 2 agility are now just 2 agility, at least for the time being. Lightweight frame let you roll the 2 dice and then roll 1 more afterwards, which was relevant back in the day with Palp. It wouldn't be these days, but it's not available anyway. Lightweight frame and the absence thereof is concerning. Especially
on the SF, because it only has the 2 dice. It takes hits really well.
It does. There's a bit of a conversation around this because we're talking about dice and how relevant they are. I was just talking about this the other day with the reveal of the Vulture droids on the Separatist faction. And look, can we make 2 red dice and 2 green dice work as a competitive platform? Having either is always a problem, especially on TIEs. 2 green dice on TIEs is significant downside. We cannot ignore that fact.
Yeah.
So is everything else on this platform relevant enough to sort of overcome that? That's always the question we have to ask with those things.
With the TIE SF, it almost feels like a jack of all trades. It has the missile slot, it has the sensor slot, it has the tech slot.
It's got the rear arc.
It does quite a lot.
It's got that gunner as well.
Yes.
Which is just the old ability, except now it costs 10 points instead of a free title.
Yeah.
Which means you can take a discounted rate on the SF to not have that. Which is cool if you want to go for a missile-centric strategy.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And yeah, as you said, sensor and tech is a good combination. You were saying before this video, it's a difficult thing to build with.
Yeah,
I agree.
I sit there and every time I play with it, I feel like I'm not using its full potential.
Yes, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think you have to trick it out so it's doing absolutely everything. In fact, I think that's a bit of a trap. I think my assessment is it is a special forces platform, so it's designed to be able to do a lot of things. And maybe just the most efficient basic options on it are the best things for it to do. That's my assessment anyway. And as we look at these lists, that's something I'm going to think about a lot. I think efficiency is key here. Okay, as we do every single week, we're going to start off with a couple of patron-submitted lists. This first one by Dleon. By the way, Dleon, thank you for joining in on the Discord. This is one of the first lists that we've done by you, so thank you for that. Thank you for joining in. For those of you who are interested, the Patreon link is down below in the description. If you are on the second tier, which I believe is $5 a month, you can join in the Discord and do all that kind of stuff. It's how we decide what list we have a look at. This list has Null, Quick Draw, and Blackout. And one of the big reasons I wanted to do this is because you're running something very similar yourself.
Yeah, actually, while looking at this list, I've then since made a couple of changes to my list.
Yeah.
I really like, with Null, he's got Swarm Tactics and Shield Upgrade.
Yeah.
I love the idea of Swarm Tactics.
Seems solid. The rest of the list, Quick Draw, Trick Shot, Special Forces Gunner, Fire Control Systems, and Shield Upgrade.
And Blackout has Trick Shot, Pattern Analyzer, Proton Torpedoes, and Shield Upgrade.
Now, the first thing I thought when I saw this was, oh, we've got shield upgrades and everything. That's usually a little bit overbloated. I actually don't mind it in this list. There's a reason for having it on 2 out of the 3 pilots. Probably not Blackout. There's a conversation around this, and we're actually talking a lot about this on the Discord as we speak. The philosophy around taking a bid. And I want to just try and drive this point home because a lot of people are sort of resistant to take a bid. And I want you to think of it like this. When we have platforms like Blackout and Quick Draw at Initiative 5 and 6, think of the bid as being an upgrade which allows you to, in certain situations, fly after your opponent. On Blackout, for example, we have Shield Upgrade. Imagine that instead says, the card is called Bid. It costs 8 points, and it says you have an 8-point bid. Reduce the points lost with MOV on this ship by 8 points. Think of that as a utility unto itself. I think Blackout probably wants the bid more than it wants the Shield Upgrade.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Shield Upgrade, it's fighting with itself here because Blackout wants to outfly your opponent and not get shot as much as possible. Shield Upgrade helps him be a little bit more tanky, but it also makes outbidding your opponent far less likely. So it's in turn making him get shot more. So it's sort of counterintuitive. That's why I look at Shield Upgrade here and go, maybe not.
Yeah.
An 8-point bid will at the very least beat out most Boba Fett lists, hopefully some Red Line lists, and that's all Initiative 5 stuff, so it is relevant.
What you could also do is drop the Shield Upgrade, change Pattern Analyzer to Primed Thrusters. Primed Thrusters then gives you a bit more of a chance to use things while you're stressed.
Out. Yeah. You got signals, loops of 4K. Yeah, it's relevant. And that's a 5-point bid. As somebody who runs Boba Fett, being just outbid is quite annoying.
Yeah. And, I mean, you've got the Swarm Tactics on Null, so, well, me personally, I run Null and Blackout together, and then I have Quick Draw off to the side.
Indeed, yeah.
And I use Quick Draw to sort of fly in and as a pincer.
Yeah.
And, using Null with Swarm Tactics to then make Blackout Initiative 7, take out Poe.
Yeah. Yeah, Proton Torpedoes, that is possible.
Yeah.
I will say as well, Blackout can also do that if you want. If you're in a pinch and for some reason you're out-positioned, the TIE Silencer can basically fill any role you need because of how fast it is. It's quite terrifying, but it's very good from the point of view of the person flying it. Just on that topic of bids as well, I will mention that from the counterpoint later in this video because I know it's a very interesting topic for a lot of you. But this is the kind of list where I would want to take a bid because we've got Initiative 5 and a 6. They're ties.
7.
5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the bid isn't really important when you have Initiative 7, but
I think I've got 11 points on my bid at the moment.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
But I think that makes sense in your list. Unless there's some upgrade which is so powerful in its utility that it does what a bid would do it better. But yeah, look, even a 0-point bid, I think there's a case for it, but I think the shield upgrade is not impactful enough to justify 8 points. And I think that's the key thing here. Just 3 really solid platforms. Quick Draw is a lot of fun, and I like this approach to building Quick Draw. It's just all solid value cards. Nothing here is like, oh, that's a bit overbloated. Even shield upgrade, it's only 6 points. Quick Draw gets more chances to activate, which is cool. Definitely worth 6 points. Fire Control Systems, it's pretty good, but it's only 3 points.
Yeah.
Trick Shot is a decent card. You've got more opportunities to use it because of the dual arc. And I think this is probably the way I like to build out Quick Draw. You can save points by cutting away maybe Fire Control, maybe Shield Upgrades. I don't think it's required. It's good.
Yeah, it's already got 3 shield.
And you can get it below 60 points, which seems really good for all of the stats and everything going on. I mean, as I said, the crux of it is if 2 agility is going to mean it's not efficient enough, but as you can see in this list, it's balanced out in such a way that you can stack more points on Quick Draw. And I think out of all the ships in X-Wing, it's one of those ships that can function on lighter and heavier builds, where most ships can't do that. So, yeah, looks solid. Dig it, Dleon. Looks great. One more list from our patrons. This is Hux's Special Forces by Kidney. And, yeah, Special Forces indeed. Zeta Squadron Survivor, 3 of, alongside an Upsilon class shuttle.
Yeah. The Zeta Squadron Survivors have the Special Forces Gunner.
And on that Upsilon, we have General Hux. This is interesting. This is really more of a conversation around General Hux than anything else.
Yeah, it's sort of a mini swarm.
Yeah. My gut reaction with General Hux was it's probably ideal alongside FOs, but we can put it alongside SFs at only 44 points each with the Special Forces Gunner.
That feels good, doesn't it?
And what I was talking about before, it can function potentially on lighter and heavier builds. It doesn't look like it sort of favours either one. And just Special Forces Gunner actually seems solid.
Yeah.
For 44 points, you're getting something that just fires 3 red dice at the front. The stat line, 3 hull, 3 shield, 2 agility. It's X-Wing-like stats, but a much better dial than an X-Wing.
Yeah.
It can fire out the back if it needs to. That buy-in rate just seems solid.
I agree.
That's cool. I dig it a lot. Hux. So this is the conversation we're having. Is this the thing that makes Hux good?
Got a red coordinate, and you can then coordinate 3 ships at once.
You treat it as red, or you can just do a white coordinate for one of them. That is always like potential upside because it's different choices. Choices are always good.
Yeah.
But you red coordinate to basically make 3 red actions, and they all must be the same, which is annoying, but I like that flexibility because you can like barrel roll 1 to make sure all 3 get a shot, or you could do like target locks on all of them, or focuses on all of them. The awkward thing is it can't link the action into the rotate arc because they're red actions.
Yeah.
Unless you just do one of them. Because all of your pilots are initiative 2, you can coordinate 3 red actions. They can then activate, do blue maneuvers, and then do another action and then rotate the arc.
Yeah, that feels good.
Which is good. I don't know how valuable retaining that arc is all the time.
Oh, not all the time, but if you just red coordinate and then just 1 forward.
Yeah. Or maybe you just have to do it with one of them. The fact that they all get the choice to do that 3rd action if they really want to is great. They can all focus target lock. And they're all slinging 3 red dice.
Yeah.
Plus, the Upsilon has 4 red dice. So it feels like you can adapt a lot. And this, I think, makes it... It's something that the FOs can't really do as well as the SFs.
Yeah.
I mean, no-named pilots is frustrating, but the potential upside's really good here. It's basically General Hux over named abilities. That's what we're looking here.
You've got a 2-point bid. Would you consider just spending the 2 points on something?
Yeah, I would. If there is something to spend it on, you may as well. Bids aren't really that important when you don't have higher initiatives. It doesn't hurt. I mean, you might snipe like the first player token in some matchups, but it's unlikely.
I don't think you really care so much with this list for a bid.
Nah. I would think buy hexacrypt codes on the Upsilon class shuttle. Buy hexacrypt codes just gives you more flexibility. So it's more of what this list is wanting to do. There's no really point taking a bid. So
just quickly though, if you do add biohexacrypt codes, it does become non-hyperspace legal.
Yes, very good point. Very good point. A lot of people have been asking me whether I'm going to do videos specific on hyperspace legality. I'm going to lean towards no, because a lot of what we're doing here is on many different ships, many of which are not hyperspace legal. Obviously, when we're talking about the new factions, 99% of the lists are going to be hyperspace legal because they are. Obviously, yes, biohexacrypt codes is the only specific upgrade for this wave which is not hyperspace legal, probably due to its power level. I completely understand that. So if you don't use it, yes, it's hyperspace legal. Like, having a look at everything else we have as an option, you could think about Tactical Scrambler or Electronic Baffle on the Upsilon class shuttle. But look, if you're looking specifically for hyperspace legal, there's nothing that really jumps out as being extra flavour. If you're not concerned with hyperspace legality, biohexacrypt codes, absolutely.
Definitely.
Very interesting idea for the list. I think it comes down to whether or not the SFs are efficient enough. But I think they are in many matchups.
I think with this list,
I think we compare them to like base level X-Wings and that kind of stuff. Chucking alongside the Upsilon class shuttle, it's a good collection of ships on the board with a lot of firepower. Seems decent. Looks really, really cool. Let's move on to a few lists submitted by our YouTube commenters. Ben Lansdowne. This is very, very spicy. So in this list we have Quick Draw in the SF with a couple of Upsilon class shuttles.
Yeah, we have Major Stridon with Pattern Analyzer and Phasma.
Lieutenant Dormitz with Pattern Analyzer.
And Quick Draw with Duke and Special Forces Gunner.
Yes. Ben, you were talking about this in the comment section saying it just seems to have a lot of firepower on board. Lieutenant Dormitz. Now, this is interesting because you were saying there's a lot of really cool potential with the positioning. I don't know about this myself, so I'm not going to make any sort of informed comments because it's not something I played around with. The only thing that I played around with that has like positioning shenanigans is Han Solo, and I'm not honestly that impressed with it on the Falcon. So my gut says I'd probably want to look at something like Petty Officer Thanison and get a bit more stress control on the board. But look, if Dormitz is doing his job, then cool.
Yeah. But I think with Thanison with Phasma works really well together.
Yeah, even on different platforms, you could put Phasma on that platform and do double stress control on the same thing if you really wanted to. I will say, like, if you're getting value out of Dormitz, it's going to be more consistent. Thanison is a really difficult thing to pull off because it's got to be, in the front arc, range 0 to 1. It's not the easiest thing in the world on the platform that can't really move around that efficiently.
Definitely.
So let's just say, for argument's sake, that Dormitz is doing his job. In this list, this is cool. What I think when I look at this is Quick Draw is almost filling the role of another Upsilon, sort of, because of that amount of firepower.
Yeah, I suppose. Because he's got so much less hull and shield compared to the Upsilon, you're more likely to attack him, and if you're more likely to attack him, he's going to be shooting back.
Yes, correct. And then you're flinging 2-3 dice attacks, which seems really, really good. I wasn't sure about Duke when I first read this, but then I realised, well, if Quick Draw is the softer option out of everything, it makes shooting Quick Draw more appealing, so Duke seems solid. It gives you an offensive bonus from taking evade actions, and you probably want to take evade actions quite a fair bit. So I get it. I
like the idea of Duke on Quick Draw, actually. I might consider that myself.
I think the only other thing I'm really considering here is Lone Wolf for the same cost, but if you're not flying Quick Draw away from the Upsilons, it's not a strong option, obviously, because you get no value out of it. But I like the philosophy around that. I'm seeing a lot of comments as well of people taking just 3 Upsilons,
Yeah.
It's a lot of stats on the table. It's a stat monster, no doubt about it. And I like the fact that it's now very much differentiated from the Lambda class shuttle because it doesn't have a rear arc. I think that's a good thing, by the way. I don't want this to have a rear arc.
No, that would be terrifying.
It would be. And 3 crew, yeah, it just seems really fun. You haven't used the 3 crew here. Strident with Captain Phasma is nasty. Also, pattern analyzer, so you can consistently coordinate at range 3, or up to range 3. Seems really, really good. You can full stop and coordinate quick draw from the long distance.
That seems fun.
Yeah, you could think about biohexacrypt codes as well because of the reach it gives you. In fact, you can think about that on Dormits and have a bigger bid. Not overly concerned about a bid here. We have no initiative 5s, which is really the key initiative we want for a bid here. Quick draw is initiative 6, but how often do you come up against initiative 6s that don't have massive bids?
Yeah.
That's the thing. When you're up against them to fell, they often take like 10 plus point bids. From that point of view, I don't think the bid really matters all that much. It's not a dedicated ace list, so I don't think it's that big a deal. Yeah. Seems cool. Seems very scary, Ben. All right, we have a list here by Thomas Drobnick, Backdraft, Quick Draw, and Lieutenant Tavson.
Backdraft has Fanatical, Pattern Analyzer, Concussion Missiles, and Collision Detector.
As does Quick Draw, except it also has Special Forces Gunner and Fire Control Systems instead of Collision Detector.
Yep, and Tavison has Biohexacrypt Codes and Phasma.
Also, Thomas, I realised that you submitted an updated version of this list, or this is the updated version. Sorry, I'm not quite sure when they were submitted. But you had a version running Duke on the SFs instead. I slightly prefer Fanatical, just as a generic sort of value-driven card. Duke requires you to take a specific action, while Fanatical is just solid.
Yeah.
Not as explosive, not as powerful, but just a good... it's a good value option that doesn't lock down your options. So that's why I probably prefer Fanatical. Lieutenant Tavson with Biohexacrypt Codes is very, very cool.
Yeah.
You basically get to do more actions per turn after you suffer damage. I know you have to get through the shields to suffer damage, and maybe from that point of view, Tavson wouldn't be focus-fied first. But with Captain Phasma, I would hope that you can pressure your opponent enough to force them to shoot Tavson first.
Yeah, you just fly it in.
Yeah, that's it. And then by Hexacrypt Codes, you can then use the actions you get to coordinate or jam from across the board. A lot of potential upside there. Also, on the subject of hyperspace legality, obviously if we take Biohexacrypt Codes, it's not legal in hyperspace, but you can do something very interesting here. We could just take Major Strident instead and cut Biohexacrypt Codes. Being able to always coordinate at range 3, up to anyway, means you don't have the option of going all the way across the board, but then again, you don't need the lock to do it either.
Yeah.
It actually feels like it has a fair bit of consistency as well. I mean, I really like the Tavson Biohexacrypt Codes combo. I think that's very spicy.
Yeah.
I think, the tournament spike in me just wants ultra consistency and wants to take Major Strident instead.
With Strident, you're then pilot matching with Backdraft?
Yes, initiative match.
Yeah.
Also, Captain Phasma works up to range 3 as well. So there's a lot of upside with taking Strident. It's just a lot of really good, powerful, consistent effects. Look, Biohexacrypt Codes is ultra powerful, but also ultra hard to activate. So that's probably why I lean away from that. Plus, hyperspace legality is another piece of potential upside. This is sort of like a Palp Aces list. Obviously there's no Palp in it. But we got the support role on the big shuttle alongside your 2 aces. I like the build out on the aces, by the way. It's just like solid value driven stuff.
Yeah.
Concussion missile seems like a lot of fun. Very, very aggressive. You can't activate concussion missiles off the ability with quick draw, but you can use concussion missiles as your regular attack and then perform a primary attack as the regular thing.
Yeah.
Which is cool. You can also fire them backwards, which is cool as well. We didn't actually mention that before. These guys can shoot missiles backwards. Now, it is locked specifically to where the mobile arc's facing. You can always shoot a primary attack forward, no matter what. With Special Forces Gunner, you only get the extra dice if it's pointing forward.
Yeah, but you get an additional attack.
Yes, if it's pointing backwards, if indeed you can shoot two different things. You have to plan ahead, but it's very easy when you have high initiatives and all of your rotate arcs are free actions on the back of any regular action. They are subject to being blocked, but look, you just be a good pilot and that doesn't matter. Just think about that kind of stuff.
Get good, son.
Yeah, in this list you do want to think about that. There is no bid. Initiative 3, 4, and 6. Because I really want these missiles to get shot, I would actually think about prioritising a bid a little bit more. At the same time, looking at everything that they have, it's all good stuff.
Yeah, but even then, you've still got the 3 shield and then 3 hull, so you're not going to get sniped out of nowhere.
They can still brawl. They have sort of defendery stats at that stage without the 3 agility. But nevertheless, a quick draw doesn't mind taking the damage. Like, quick draw is a weird kind of case because quick draw almost negates the downside of losing that green dice. I say almost. I think they'd still probably want that extra green dice. But if you can get an extra shot at your opponent, well, that's good too. I mean, a fundamental thing with X-Wing, shoot your opponent more times than they shoot you and you'll usually win games. Just very simple. That's one of my key tips. Like, it's not complicated, but it works. Let's have a look at this very last list we have here. This is the First Order Quad Squad by PJ Anderson. Couple of FOs, couple of SFs. Null, Static, Omega, Squadron, Expert, and Backdraft.
Yeah, this is an interesting looking list. Null has Fanatical and Advanced Optics.
As does Static.
Omega Squadron Expert has Trick Shot, Targeting Synchronizer, Special Forces Gunner, and Homing Missile.
Backdraft also Trick Shot, Targeting Synchronizer, and Special Forces Gunner, but instead of homing missiles, we have concussion missiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were having a chat about this. I think there's some obvious things that we change here. The Targeting Synchronizer.
I think actually the Targeting Synchronizers look better on the FOs than Advanced Optics do.
And I think Advanced Optics actually looks better on the SFs because SFs have more natural dice.
Yeah.
Advanced Optics is a bit of an awkward choice with FOs because they don't have many red dice. There's less opportunities to blank out. There's a 1 in 4 chance any of your dice will blank. So, I mean, there's a pretty good chance on their attacks that you'll have a chance to use it, but are those attacks also going to be the ones where you have focus tokens, coincidentally?
Well, not only... I suppose, though, Advanced Optics and Fanatical together feels really good.
Yes.
Because you're using the focus...
for something else, so you're consistently converting more results. But what if you just get hits? Which is not that uncommon, a 1 in 4 chance of just getting 2 hits off your 2 dice. With the 3 red dice or the 4 red dice, if you attack twice, you're much more likely to get blanks. Also, Targeting Synchronizer. Because we have Static specifically, I like it here. Null, because Null's flying last. Null knows where your opponent's ships are going to be, so taking target locks is a safer bet.
Yep.
And Static wants target locks to try and activate that ability, so incidentally, Static's going to have more target locks. That makes a lot more sense. Like right now where we are is the SFs are helping themselves out with target locks, so I guess they can fly in formation. But I think we probably want to fly them all together.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what we want to do here.
Not only that, we could also consider upgrading the homing missiles to concussion missiles as well.
And this is the conversation about bids I wanted to have. Previously I said we wanted to consider a bid because we have initiative 5s and 6s or whatever. Right now, these are all super low initiatives. What have we got? 0 or 7. 7 doesn't really care about bids. 4, 3, and 4. No 5s and 6s. And for that reason, I don't think a bid is as important. Indeed, because we have 4 platforms, blocking is a much better strategy. The more platforms you have, the more you can punish your opponent by blocking because you have other platforms to then shoot your opponent. So more platforms, lower initiatives means, in my mind, bids are less relevant. And from that point of view, you can take this stance that, well, just spend all the points. If you change homing missile into another concussion missile, it's only a 1-point bid, but I think that's fine. I think the upside of concussion missile over homing missile is good. Homing missile is an odd utility card, which I've struggled with. When I first saw it, I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool against aces. But then I tried it out, and I was very disappointed.
And then the ace just goes, yeah, I'll take the hit, and rolls the 3 dice. And they just
rolls
block
natties.
everything. And you're just like, well, I just wasted that, didn't I?
Yeah. It's not. I'm not a huge fan of it. And Concussion Missile is just a solid, powerful attack. With a lot of potential upside because you can expose extra cards. Yeah, it seems like a lot of fun. That's what I would think about. And just around bid philosophy, I actually want to make an entire video on this because even on like the Patreon Discord and in the YouTube comments, a lot of people are talking about like what bid should we be taking, that kind of thing. And I think it varies from person to person.
Well, not only does it vary from person to person, it varies from list to list.
Absolutely. And I think it's a very interesting topic. And now that we have a sort of half-established matter in X-Wing, we can start to talk about that a bit more seriously. That is for another video. In the meantime, PJ, thank you so much for submitting that list, and thank you all for your submitted lists. If you'd like us to take a look at any of your lists in the YouTube comments, please just copy and paste the block of text with all the pilots and upgrades, and also a link to that list within your favourite squad builder. If you're part of the Patreon Discord, just submit it in the relevant channel there. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Reddit. Please consider supporting the Patreon. It means a lot. It's literally what keeps this channel going. It means we can do things like buy cameras and talk to you patrons directly, give you guys a bit more help. And we will catch you later.